But I truly do have to admit, I disagree with Brett Yormark on something pretty strongly here, okay? And it's something even that I think helps the Big 12. It does, that Yormark is arguing for, and I guess, going against the league and the self-interest of the league. But I don't know, man. Yeah, Brett Yormark wants a 76-team NCAA tournament field, and I just can't get on board. And Brett Yormark, by the way, said this before West Virginia got left out of the field, which, as I mentioned earlier, probably just even further reinforces the fact that this is something that he will push for and want. It's probably a galvanizing thing as far as that goes. Here's what he said. Here's one of the quotes. He said, "I'm in favor of expansion to 76. I think that's the right number," which, what I hate about that quote is that's what they'll say now. You know, I mean, I'm sure a ton of people that now are like, hey, we need to go to 76. We're saying, yeah, we'll stop at 68. I think that's the right number. I'm sure they said that when it expanded to 68, right? Like, you can just keep doing that. But anyway, Brett Yormark says, I think that's the right number. I think the economics candidly have to work. CBS and TNT have a marquee TV asset with the tournament. I know they know that. But in order for us to expand, they need to come to the table and provide the right economics. Okay, so he's saying money talks. 76 is the right number, but we've got to get enough money from the TV partners. And here we are doing the same song and dance that everybody's doing in college athletics these days. Like, we just TV money, need more TV money, need more TV money. You know, what's the justification for this? I don't think that there is a great one. It's going to sound a little crazy because I would tell you, like, the bubble, we're not leaving out a slew of like great teams. Now, I'm saying that in the same breath as defending West Virginia vehemently here. But to me, West Virginia wasn't even a bubble team. Like, West Virginia was in the field, and that's what makes this such an egregious thing that happened. So I consider Texas and Oklahoma bubble teams. I do not consider West Virginia a bubble team. Texas and Oklahoma got in. West Virginia did not. North Carolina is a bubble team. Like, you went 1-12 against quad one teams, like quad one games this year. What are we doing? You don't need to be in the tournament. And we don't need a 76 team field to just scoop up more teams like that. I mean, think about it. Like, nothing against Cincinnati at all. But if it's a 76 team field, we're probably sitting here talking about, like, is Cincinnati getting in? And like, I'm sorry. Like, Cincinnati's not a team that needs to be in this tournament field. Like, we do not need to encompass more of those teams. And as today has proven, the big power conferences are going to get the majority of those bids. They will get the benefit of the doubt there. That's what happened. We see North Carolina, and then we see the SEC being rewarded with just more teams thrown in, even though they're going 6-12 in their league or 1-12 against quad one. Here would be the counter argument, and I'm going to give it to you. ESPN quoted NCAA Senior Vice President Dan Gavitt with this. He said, there's no sport that is deeper overall and has more parity than men's college basketball. There's great basketball played at every level in men's basketball right now, so I think it's important to keep the tournament contemporary and relevant based on what is going on in college athletics. Well, you know, as twisted as it is, I might actually say here, Dan Gavitt has a point, and his point is, like, if we're going to keep, I guess if you want to keep it contemporary and relevant, if you at least contemporary, it's always going to be relevant. That's a ridiculous statement to say we've got to change something to make the tournament relevant. Nobody pays attention to college basketball for 3/4 of the season. And then everybody across the country loves it in March because that's the power and the gravity of the tournament. It's nowhere near being irrelevant or losing relevancy. But if you want to keep it contemporary, keep it up to date with what's happening in the rest of college sports, everything else in the rest of college sports seems to be getting ruined and made worse. So he is right about that. If you want to keep the NCAA tournament contemporary with everything else going on, you make it worse. And I guess that's what they want to do, is they want to make it worse by watering it down. So there's that. That's a funny part of that quote. As far as when this could happen, Yormark says, I think there will be some decisions over the next 90 days or even 60 days. No one wants to be diluted, and we have a great asset here. We'll see how it plays out. All right, well, playing the other side of the fence a little bit there, I guess, Brett Yormark. Look, I get what he's doing. I understand if this is kind of the same conversation that we get to with like Tony Petitti in the Big Ten or Greg Sankey in the SEC, which is, hey, they're doing their job. Like they're doing what they're paid to do, which is to advocate for their conference. That's what Brett Yormark is doing here, because it would more, it's, maybe you could say it won't benefit the Big 12 more than it would benefit the SEC or Big 10 or ACC, like other conferences, but it will benefit the power conferences. So generally then power conferences are going to be on board. They would all make more money by getting more teams in the field. If you're even thinking about it from Yormark's standpoint, if you just get more lotto tickets to throw in there for a meaningful deep tourney run, that helps your league too. And that's what it would be. If you're talking about teams from 68 to 76, those are just lottery tickets that you can throw in there and hope that that somebody has a nice run and turns into something special. So from that standpoint, I get it. It would be in his best interest to do it. Also, if you believe, this is kind of a bet on yourself sort of a situation. If you believe that you are going to consistently, over a decade, be the best league in college basketball, which I know right now in this moment, the Big 12 is not the best league in college basketball. But if you were to say over the last decade, have they been, that's where you can start to make that argument. If you still feel like you're that league, then yes, you want to expand the field and just say, hey, more often than not, we'll have more teams that are going to be there around there because I believe in this league and we are better. And therefore we'll make more money by having more teams in the tournament. That's what he is doing. And most of the time I'm not blaming Yormark here. Okay. I guess I'll be clear on that. I just would say it's not worth it here, man. Whatever money that you're going to make from this, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. The tournament is perfect. We don't need to, 64 even is fine with me, but we definitely don't need to go beyond these playing games in 68. It's perfect. Let's not start messing with it because it's a slippery slope. Right now it's 76. And then what happens in another 5 years when you guys feel like you need more money, and it turns into there's always money in the banana stand. You can't keep coming back to the banana stand. Leave it be. It's perfect as it is. You don't need to do this and open that door, which will stay open. It will stay cracked open, and you guys will always try to go back to it. It does not need to happen. I just think it would be objectively bad for college sports if it happens. And it's kind of like, as I mentioned, the football comparisons already, kind of like what's going on in football, just taking a good thing and pushing it too far. Playoff good thing, pushing it too far with 4 auto bids for the SEC and Big Ten. Like just leave it where it's at. It's a great thing. It's a cool thing in the sport. And you have college football in general, and you're just pushing it too far with like realignment. Like, hey, big matchups are awesome when you get big brand matchups in college football, but you push it too far and you cram too many of them into 2 conferences and cut everybody else out, then now that gets a little stale and boring and you have diminishing returns. And you guys have heard that argument from me for a long time on this channel. Pushing it too far, and then the toothpaste is out of the tube once you've gone too far. There's nothing really you can do. Like, let's not do that with the basketball tournament, please. And I can hear some of the pushback, like, hey, man, Yormark is just being a part of the machine here, like he has in a lot of ways. I've seen some phrase it like when they talk about conference realignment, they'll lump in the Big 12, taking the schools that they did from the Pac-12 here and just be like, I mean, really, they're all kind of in the same boat, all doing the same thing. But I would argue in those cases, at least, Yormark is like directly responding. It's a retaliatory thing. Like, he wouldn't have to be doing that if Oklahoma and Texas had not left for the SEC. So the bigger guys have started the domino effect, and he's just acting in kind to try to preserve as much of his conference as he can. Whereas here, I feel like he's just sort of jumping in on board right away with all the big boys. And it's not like a thing where he has been provoked to have to do this. I don't think that is the case. So I'm not with it. I hope that we stay at 68. Maybe people come to their senses in the next 60 to 90 days. But anybody who's here watching this video has paid attention to college sports lately enough to realize what drives all these decisions, what wins in the end. It's cash. Money will win. And so if the TV networks are going to pony up the money, we'll be getting more games. I'm sure we'll watch them. It's not like it is the worst thing in the world to have more basketball like that. But it's, we don't need to be watching more NIT games. And that's really just what it feels like. You'd be watching NIT games under a different banner. I don't think we really need that.